Bum, 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 bum. Okay, I know it's late. I've got a lot on my mind, so I'm talking to my camera and instead of talking to myself, because my roommates will think that I'm crazy. So I figured I'd record some of this and broadcast it later. We're talking about solipsism, and we're talking about individuals' potentiality to manifest their potentiality through their willingness to become the Godhead in what could be a Godhead type of scenario, with our growing consciousness becoming more and more hive-minded or unified, as you see in society everywhere. And that's because of the tools of technology that we have today, social media being one of them. So just one of the things I was jamming about, and I figured this would be a good atmosphere for me to bullshit with you. It's not that late. It's only like 12:22. I got like 30 more minutes or an hour, and then I got to shut everything off, and I have to go to work in the morning. And I'm really grateful for that. And that's freaking iced tea, and I haven't drank in almost, 4 months, and I feel great. I really do. Oh, Ragnarok, yeah. Don't mind me, I'm going to multitask. So I went outside, and I know my neighbors sit just outside their fence, sometimes on both sides, sometimes, because they park all their cars right here, and I hear them talking. And I know there's a larger family on the other side over there, so I sat downstairs, and based on my premise that there may be someone within earshot, I briefly explained some of what I've gone through and some of my different perspectives that have given me such a hard time lately, because they don't know anything about me. I don't stay up, and I don't talk anymore. I don't talk to anybody. Are you joining me? This just happening in the past week and a half or 2 weeks has just been a compulsion to reach out to somebody, to find someone that's like-minded, that can appreciate and help me understand some of what I'm going through, spiritually, psychologically, I guess, to some degree, and emotionally. And I still think that social media is a pliable or a viable tool to do that with. It just takes a lot of editing and a lot of time. What was that, sugar? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. That's how I get in trouble. I've gotten a lot better. I'm down to I'll post some stuff, and I'll get a lot of responses, a lot, And I used to get lost in the sauce, and I'd try to talk to too many people at once and just lose interest, So now I try to find one or two people whom obviously you can't tell what gender and can't tell whether anything about them is real or genuine. That's why I know that I'm off-settling to so many people, is because I'm generally what I present myself to be. But I have certain people that I have conversations or dialogues with that I don't pry or press the fact. I don't put them in situations where they'd have to lie to me. And I just sort of pick their brains and have interesting conversations, and it helps me put things in perspective. Which is good, because, there's a fair chance that they are, someone, pretending to be something they're not. And if that is what it is, it gives me an opportunity to, without judgment, understand more about that person. It would just be nice if I didn't have to come up with the assumption or the presumption that I'm dealing with someone else who's yet again deceiving me about one aspect or another of their life. And yet, I just feel if they were willing to have a completely transparent or open exchange, it doesn't necessarily mean that I would refuse to talk to them at all. If anything, it would probably encourage me to talk to them more. Now, it would probably, depending on the intention of the conversation or the intention of their dialogue, because I don't talk to people that are just trying to rip me off or pump me for fucking Steam cards or whatever. I don't send money over the internet. I'm very, very. I've been playing on the internet for decades now. I'm not a fucking fool. That being said, you know how hard it is to find a professional escort on the internet now? I mean, like 8 years ago, 2018, no problem. You could find serious workers who were serious about their trade, and it was a very...
Approach slowly. It's okay, little one. We want to help. Don't we?
It was nice because it allowed you to still experience, sexual gratification, and if you're someone like me, it allowed you to do that without having to make serious emotional attachments, which I still did, because if I liked an escort, I'd call her more than once, call her once, twice, sometimes as many as 3 times, and by the second or third time I called them, I wouldn't have to I'd make sure it was a girl that I clicked with, and she wouldn't make me pay. She'd just come over and hang out and stuff anyway. And people are like, well, that's gross. You date an escort or something like that? Have you seen what the average girl sitting on a bar stool looks like? Do you think she gives a flying fuck what her fucking poom poom looks like? Now, an escort that gets $350 an hour, that's like a fucking Lamborghini. She's using Kegels. You girls know what Kegels are. If you don't, well, maybe you want to look that up. She's washed, waxed, fucking good to go. Spray her down with a high pressure nozzle, and she's fucking cleaner than any bar whore you'll find on the fucking block. Oh, but you sleep with an escort? This woman has people sending her pictures, offering her hundreds of dollars an hour to sleep with them 24 hours a day. She could be anywhere she wants with any type of person that she wants right now. And she chose to come over here and hang out with me and watch a couple movies and fuck my brains out. Yeah, I was cool with that. She didn't have to lie to me. Where were you? Oh, it was Tuesday. Oh, yeah, you were working. I'm sorry, my bad. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, cool. Fine. It meant that and because we dated openly, I was allowed to date because their jobs, I dated more than one escort. I was allowed to date because their job entailed sex as being a sex worker. They could not judge me for wanting to have sex as well, so I was allowed to date openly. So I dated other escorts because it provided the same opportunity. I found out something crazy. Do you know that escorts like to eat dinner and watch movies and do regular shit too, just like normal people? They do. They just happen to get paid to screw all the time. And you know what they can't stand? Having to screw somebody that they don't really care about. They just want a genuine connection. As much as they just love to fuck, everybody loves to fuck, they want a genuine connection too. So a lot of people gave me criticism because I had come to a point where I was able to date openly and not judge people for that particular line of work. And because I was honest to certain people about it, I didn't obviously talk to my child about it. Or I did talk to her mother. Her mother was aware of how I conducted myself. It was her fault. When I was with my youngest daughter's mother, everybody on the island was sleeping with her but me. And I knew about it, and I'd turn around, they'd be laughing behind my back, and I'd turn around and be like... My own stepson, when we'd commiserate together because she was sleeping with his best friend. I can't believe she fucked her. It's your mom. I mean, you gotta love her while she's here. My parents are dead. Don't worry, you just appreciate her for who she is, and you'll help her grow by doing that. And I tried to talk to him. Gino, God bless the dead. I love Gino. Some of you remember Gino, right? Of course you do. And the terrible things I can never talk about.
Who are we to hide
You know?
and do nothing?
We are not hiding.
Because while I never promised to not share my experience in total, I did say that I was going to be much more discreet with the specifics of what I'm still learning about and admitting my fault along the way. Primarily, one of my fault being, as I've said before, I was ignorant to believe that all the people I was observing were on the same, call it team, or on the same, had the exact same agenda, and or they do to some degree. I didn't realize you were literally even working against yourselves. I didn't realize, no one's explained to me. Everything I know is built off a process of deduction, reason, observation, and very little affirmation, literal affirmation from other people who've been involved in the process. And if you think I could sit here and say that I was so sure that my experience was valid to a heavy degree, I'm not, of course, not in total. I wouldn't be able to say that if it wasn't for the validation that I've had from other people that have been going through the experience with me along the way. And, for everybody involved, that's all I have to say about that. And I think you guys will appreciate that greatly. Because I think I also did something which was also completely intentional. I caused dissension in the ranks. I made it to the point where, although you're not all playing on the same team, you do have the tie that binds. And in certain situations of like agenda, that being said, I made my presence well known enough to create a dialogue. And all that dialogue had to do was introduce something very simple, and that's doubt. Because I'm more than willing to admit that some of the things that I've said in the past could be completely wrong. And I could be completely psychotic, and these could just have been a psychotic break and a experience of a premature bout of dementia brought on by psychedelics and drug use, and completely invalidate my entire experience and any of the things that I've shared with you that you found to be positive, or have affirmed your own experiences, or have given you the insight that something greater is going on. That would mean that all of those moments were just coincidence, and I was just good at playing the crowd, and this all could very well be a possibility. I don't believe it to be true. I believe that I can trust my experience, and I can trust my perspective, and that it is validated to a degree. And that being said, I'm not going to say that I wasn't under the influence of different things at different times, and that paranoia didn't seep into all aspects of my life, knowing some of what some of you may or may not know about my situation. If you were given those kinds of scenarios and or plausibilities, it would make you paranoid. If certain people started making certain connections with you, your character, your blood type, literally, and your genealogy, and a lot of other things that are starting to tie into certain aspects of prophetic texts that were left untampered with in what we were given in the Bible, because they needed someone to see the prophecy so they could take that discernment interpretation and manipulate it and use it to prevent what it is, to prevent the judgment, to postpone the judgment. And we're tying back into some spiritual stuff that we're not going to try and talk too heavily about because we don't talk about it as much. But I know you've seen me pop up here and there, and I'm doing the construction thing, and I'm just trying to get people's attention. And the reality of it is, I have been feeling compelled to communicate some of my experience with people, the public as a whole, again, to remind you that time is running out and that this is a very important time on this planet where you're going to be forced to, not given an ultimatum right away, but you're going to see it in the way that you're giving choices and you're given options and ultimatums and all these different situations that seem so petty, and some of them not. Some of them will be obviously, at face value, the serious situations there. But you'll be giving all these choices. You're being asked to polarize. You're being asked to feel a certain way about a certain thing. It all boils down to a couple things. And you're being misdirected and a lot of misinformation being pumped down your throat. And for me to sit here and tell you what those things are, I would be counterproductive and counterintuitive. All it would do would make you rebel against them. The things that people are trying to get to be publicly accepted and accepted as part of human growth and human development evolution are very unnatural things that certain parts of society, regardless of right now your age or your gender or where you're going to school or what they're teaching you, you still know what you feel right and wrong when it comes to certain things that are being, I guess you call it popularized, or our children are being sexualized at an age where it should be a non-issue. If you were born a girl, you're a girl up until, you can afford to really do something about it. And, you might have the feeling or impression that you don't want to be a girl in a girl's body, then maybe you want to talk to somebody about it and they could make you appreciate the gift that you were given and the beauty that's inside of you and how unique and how special all of that was, and why they can make you see the why you were created in this body, in this gender. But nobody talks about these things because nobody wants to be a reason in a world of darkness because of the persecution involved with it. I would be, based on my subject matter of the conversation we just had, considered a closed-minded bigot, and anything I said would be irrational and therefore have no value and be discredited solely based on the fact that I'm trying to encourage people to appreciate something that's happening. We could even take the God and spiritual factor out of it, that's happening naturally through nature, that the universe has gifted you with. And instead of embracing it and making it unique and special and finding that special someone out there that is in love with it, whatever you make yourself out to be, as a natural human being, you guys can accessorize. Fuck, have a blast. That's what human body's all about. But you shouldn't be having our children. My 12-year-old daughter shouldn't be saying that she's having issues with her mother because her mother won't address her as him or his or he. And when she directed it at me, I just looked at her and shrugged and shook my head. She was visiting me for Thanksgiving vacation. She's 12, and I was just like, I just sort of shook my head and looked back at the screen and continued to play whatever game I was playing. I'm a gamer. We were hanging out playing PlayStation and whatever. And she left it at that because she knows that my mentality is very, she knows she wouldn't use the word archaic, but she knows it's very old school. and that I'm very traditional, and that's odd growing up as an antithesis to her grandparents who were hippies, who she knew very little about. But instead of me growing up being raised by a bunch of hippies and being all peace, love, and dove, and walking around Birkenstocks, I've always been compelled to be very tactical and militant, and it has a lot to do with some of the lives that I've lived throughout these multiple cycles of reincarnation. And I just find myself to be a very Spartan, tactical, simple person when it comes to my material requirements and or even desires and aspirations. I bought the PlayStation 5 so my daughter would have something to do while she was here, and so she thought I was normal. And then I did realize that I have owned every game system ever created since the beginning of gaming, from the Atari to the Atari 1500 to the Coleco to the Nintendo to the Sega Genesis to the Nintendo to the Super Nintendo to the PlayStation to the now I have PlayStation 5. I've owned every version of PlayStation. I'm a latchkey kid. My parents at some point in time realized they didn't have to raise me. All they had to do was sit me down in front of a video game console, and they could just leave me there. And that's how I grew up. That's where my moral code came from. It was easy. Save the princess. That's I don't make this shit up. They really call them latchkey kids. It's from my generation. I am the pinnacle of the video game generation and the hip hop and rap generation. Which I fucking was out there rapping earlier to my neighbors and shit like that. Which is odd because I'm 47 and a lot of people don't look at me like, you can't rap. I can't freestyle like that off the top of my head type shit. Like that off the top now. I can memorize songs and bars and verses, and depending on what song or what beat I'm listening to, I can adjust my tempo and my tone and my inflection so that depending on which flow I choose, I can match it up with the beat that I'm listening to, and then I can take different parts from different verses from different songs and arrange them while I'm reciting them. But I really don't remember, I really don't know. I remember it all. I really don't know how to do it off the top of my head. I remember a lot of them. And it's weird because I know my subject matter is way different, I try to slip enough. I've been in prison 5 times, so I try to slip enough of the urban, I guess, mentality or attitude in there to it to make it sound street, to make it sound legitimately like this guy. Well, this guy talks to people on the street. It sounds like he has a street-based dialect, but the subject matter is not contemporary. I talk about religion, origins of religions, and occult religion, the spiritual consequences, and the state of the earth, and it's a kind of an intelligent hip hop. I don't really rap about cars, and I rap one about pussy. I figured I needed at least one song about pussy, otherwise people were really gonna start to worry about me. So I wrote a song about pussy. It's peanut butter jelly, macaroni cheese. I'm going ham on this bitch. She's on her hands and her knees. She's saying, Poppy, please. Please don't stop. Both locked in motion. You can feel that body rock. Me rocked up, bitch. Yes, that's my cock. Chocolate paper cloth and I'm stirring that pot. It's not. Did you hear me complaining? Do you hear what I'm saying? More like Super saying. You Goku and I push through with no delaying. Flip you on your back, counterattack, and now you're spraying. Hey man, this ain't no gang man. This ain't no game man. This is how I fuck pissy do me man. Well, just wait up a minute. Let me restart before I get lost in it. No, I'm not finished, bitch, I'm famous, I'm parched. In there, Gatorade, just watch. No haterade, just stop. Just let the boy breathe, 112. As I slide him with ease, it's a tough meal that I served up with cheese. Truffle butters and meats, huh?
Alder's chasm is too unstable, brother. The lad wouldn't try it.
It's hard to multitask. Anyway, that song's not about food. It's a 7-course meal that I made out. You see, truffle butters and peas, chopped meats and meats, Why can't you see?
Prince this way either.
How does that last verse go? I'm surprised I can remember as many verses as I have. I haven't rapped in more than a year. I haven't even wrote anything down or even
Let's see.
breathed
Tracks
it.
heading down to the frozen river. That's most likely where he did the
Like every now and then I'll meet a kid and I'll drop like a bar on him real quick and he'll just be like, wow, you really do know a little bit about rap like that. I mean, my shit's even now, it's sounding more dated and old school. It's different. I mean, whatever. If you just keep doing you over and over again, it just turns into a new flow and it turns original again. It doesn't. It's just as long as you're intelligent and like keep the people listening. It's like, you know. Like I do old shit where I like try to explain myself and be like, Pops was a hustler that taught me how to cop. He flipped shit, sell it, re-up and restock. I was in school when we first got caught. Made my block hot. Friends turned on me. Sometimes kids can just be so mean. I thought I was keen and hip to a game. In retrospect, childhood was insane. Insane. Insane hot step and hot weapons. Hot bricks, hot blocks, time stretches. Time freezes, time stops. Fresh out the box, southpaw, switch stance, son, missed with the lead, what, never had a chance. True religion pants, dark denim dreams. Pictures unfolded, it's all about cream. That's a dollar bill, y'all. I have fast money, fast cars, fast girls. Friends and family fast, leave you lonely on this world. Head on twirl, playing off, even kill, rotate 360, yo, keep your eyes peeled. Keep your lips sealed. Teach the old earth. Earth teaches seeds. Seeds become sprouts. Sprouts become trees. Trees grow flowers. Watch out for busy bees. All up in your business. People love to hate. Say goodbye to the finish. Shit, we're going ham on this bitch. You like it dirty like your dishes. Vicious, savage life. Live and try for no reason. Rabbit season. Duck season. Hunting season. Wanted for treason. Every charge in between. See, I was always unforgiving, monster, my time, script, walking over cracks, never stepping on the lines, and I love my mama. Flaw best to dead, no drama. No entourage, steady rapping in my room. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temples of Boom. This be the last crusade, baby mama, lip on pout, but you'll all be home soon. And that's extras from your OG, that's original goon. You know, like I try to like tell like a little bit how I grew up, but try to make it sound a little bit like I still wanted to sound gangster, but the reality of, you know, everything I really just said was really what I mean. I didn't really grow up like a gangster. It was never, there was no like, you know, there were no gangs or gunplay or shit like that. I grew up in the Florida Keys. But all that other shit was true. All, you know, getting in trouble and selling dope and all that. That's like old shit. That's like shit like... I guess that's like shit when I really first wanted just to explain myself. Like when I didn't really have any subject matter. So I figured the only subject matter I had would be like myself. So I'd talk about myself or like how I grew up or whatever.
You don't suppose he was training in the middle of the night?
I suggested as much.
Did you? What for?
But then when I got older, the more I read different
I know you're trying.
religious texts and books on theology and all the different shit that I would study whenever I was in prison, the more it intertwined into my lyrical content. The more my lyrical content just became very just bizarre, you know, just very different. Which was the goal, which was the whole idea. Is I was like, I listened to rap and I listened to it for like, there'd be years where I listened to it or months where I listened to it and I'd be like, man, I was like, God, these motherfuckers are like prophets. They're like just dropping like divine truths about people in society and, you know, the way the history's played out. Like, there's some real intelligent rappers out there. Just do a lot of like your LA Leakers freestyles and your Funk Flex in the Morning freestyles and what's another one? Sway in the Morning freestyles. A lot of these freestyle hip hop morning shows that you can look up on YouTube are venues where top artists, both old school and new school, come and have an opportunity to actually rap about content that's not tied into their record, it's not tied into their sales, it's not tied into their any desire they have outside of proving that they can rap. And a big way that they do that is they prove that they're not just rhyming, they prove that they're intelligent while they're doing it. So you're hearing a lot of real intelligent fucking mainstream and upcoming artists express themselves on these freestyle platforms. And that's one of the places that I dig through, you know, techniques and styles and information and inspiration and encourage other people to listen to. So if you picked up on any of that, it's like Sway in the Morning, the LA Leakers, and Funk Flex. You know, Funk Flex is whatever. He's a little commercial, but you see some cool shit on there. I mean, I'll show you something. Let's see. We'll piss my roommates off for a second, because I'll play some music. I used to do this all the time too, is I use my TV for like a chalkboard. So I had an even bigger one at the house in Colorado when I had like the 5,000 followers and shit like that. And then I was crossing streams. I do the Facebook stream, and then I do like the other one. I think Instagram has a live stream. And if it wasn't Instagram, I just jump right to my Chatterbait page, because Chatterbait's the Cam to Cam X-rated content platform. So now I can talk about whatever the fuck I wanted to. And then I was doing something ingenious. I was taking the stupid shit I was talking about and I was inserting it into the type of person that watches porno's pocket. Well, who watches porno? Everybody fucking watches porno. Lawyers, doctors, fucking preschool teachers. I was taking me, my personality, and the context and content of what I was talking about socially, spiritually, and sexually, and presenting it to people that would never have given me 5 seconds of the time of day, which the end result was, and I'm not shy in saying this, a lot of people know who the fuck I am on the internet. A lot of people do. I have different people that follow me around from different platforms. I have a large group of people that spend a large group of time making sure that I don't know that anybody, you go on the platforms that I have now and they all say I have 0 friends with 0 followers and 0, and there's a very good chance, and I'm pretty sure that nobody's watching this right now. But that doesn't mean that this won't disappear from the feed like they all do within a week, and that it's not being circulated amongst a group of people whom actually collect footage of me in it. They prefer me to be naked, and they prefer to be into a situation of exposing myself so that I can be ridiculed for the medium or average size of my penis, which, again, I don't feel compelled to, I'm not the platform to do it on. I don't feel compelled to pull my penis out right now. I have on camera many times, and I don't really get a complaint. The escorts that I was dating weren't complaining. My ex-girlfriends weren't complaining. Nobody was complaining. You know why they weren't complaining? It's a normal dick. Bang Brothers wanted to give me a contract when I was working for Chatterbait. You know what they were insisting upon? That I had penis enlargement surgery. They said if I had gone through with a penis enlargement surgery, they were willing to sign an 18-month contract with me, but I didn't even know how many hundreds of $1,000s down. I refused. I'm not ashamed of my penis. I'm proud of the penis I got. It worked great. I don't have somebody saying, no, you just fucking me. It's just too hard and you're just fucking me too much all the time. I don't get complaints like that. No. Why the fuck am I going to go? No. Nobody's going to make me compromise myself just to be... Is that the kind of fame I want? I want to be the guy who got an augmentation surgery, who had his life made a joke out of, and then they made a movie about me and sold some copies of it. They made way more money with me refusing. They've been able to follow me around for 6 years in different situations, and not necessarily now. I live a very humble, modest life right now. I don't talk to anybody about shit. I'm not talking about shit about myself and my own delusion right now. I don't talk to anybody about shit. I have a nice little life. I have a nice little apartment. I have a nice little job. I'm super fucking grateful for it. I'm going to continue to do this. I'm looking for a girlfriend. I'm just reaching out to somebody. So this is all about. That's what this is all about. This is one of the only tools I can really think about to do it on. Yeah. The problem is you just don't find other people that are as willing to be as transparent as I am. They find it unsettling. And I don't understand what's so unsettling. If somebody who's had the life of ignorance and stupidity and bad choices and incarceration and addiction and all these other terrible aspects that my life has been associated with, if I can turn around and I can talk about them freely and tell you that I love myself, I really do. I've learned to. I had to accept myself, share that with other people. What do I have to hide? I'm supposed to hide something? I'm proud of myself. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm the soberest I've been in goddamn fucking... I just drank my second Kratom shake of the day. I drink 1 tablespoon of Kratom, 2 tablespoons of Instant Coffee, 4 scoops of high protein shake, and a little bit of sugar and some cream and some hot water. I shake it up and drink it. And I just finished my second one for the day because I stayed up a little late gaming, and something made me want to get on here and have a conversation that was longer than 2 seconds to explain myself to people. I know no one's watching it now. I'm hoping someone catches it later on one of my feeds. I know there's somebody always watching. I see you there. It's going to sound really strange. I just wanted to say thank you. Because my life doesn't have to be like this. I know what my life could be like. You know, and I know I did make a conscious effort to change, but I know that without people being put in my life along that path, that I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And you might not be capable of understanding this, but I have experienced gratitude for that, and I'm grateful for that. Regardless of what may or may not have happened leading up to this point, regardless of what, some of what I've been through and what we've been through. A lot of people would look at me and think that I had more than enough room to be very resentful and scared. And I'm not scared, I'm sad. And I'm not resentful, I'm grateful that I'm still here to make a difference in my own kid's life. If I can make a difference in at least her life, all I gotta do is, my dad killed himself when he was 56, I'm 47. I gotta make another 10 years. I think I got this. I want to at least live that long. I want to make a difference in her life. I think I do. And I'm hoping that little moments like this that do get preserved are times when she gets to look at me and understand that there are reasons why people looked at me and were like, well, your father was he made a lot of sense. Your father was a good guy. I talk to her just like I talk to you guys now. But so this wouldn't be a rarity for to have a conversation that's at a deeper level with me, or I want people to know that I've chosen to try again, and I've settled into someplace that's quiet, and I have a good job, and I'm happy. And
What is emergence?
thank you to everyone that's involved in that process, and I'm grateful. And I know it's a lot more people than I probably even have the skill to understand it. But some of you that probably are on here will look at this later on and be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And some of the people that have affirmed things in my life that I talked about earlier will know exactly what I'm talking about. And we've learned to say something, and these groups of people that I deal with, we just say less. I'm learning to say less. I don't know, I'm thinking about cracking out on the end of my, I don't know, what ago? One day ago, yeah, we gotta go 1 day ago. The Ryan Celsius Trapping series. This one was 58. He just released it 1 day ago. Hey. I just try to keep it quiet for my roommate because we're pretty cool. I also have to do this on occasion because the only way I know how to process thought is aloud sometimes, and I find that doing it through the streaming and the social media platform is a very sane outlet and atmosphere or platform for me to do that on. If I were just sitting here having this conversation without looking at the camera and having a directed intent, I would be talking completely to myself, and it would be cause for concern. The fact that I'm talking to my camera and directing it toward the feed that I believe will be looked at later on, I understand no one's looking at it now. That happens more than not. A lot of times what happens is there is a way for people to look at certain feeds, and you have no idea that they're looking at them. They can look at them and it goes to an incognito mode. I don't believe that's what's happening right now. I'm pretty sure I've made no effort towards reaching out extensively in the social media plethora of platforms. I have a Facebook account. I use it to talk to my immediate family and my daughter, and within the last week or so, I've just used it to start kind of pitching my different brand of optimism, hoping that I can attract somebody out there that wants to get to know me, because I don't think I'm that bad of a guy. Kind of lower and middle class. I mean, I'm paid well for the trade that I have right now. I believe I am. I make around $50,000 a year. I know that's not shit for money. For me, that's good. I have a criminal history from when I was younger. I'm fortunate to have a job where I make a consistent wage of $50,000 a year. And I'm in line to grow along that salary. That was what they started me at. So, I mean, I'm expecting over time to make more. I'm very content with that amount there. I live very modestly. I rent a single room apartment with a small kitchenette in St. Petersburg, which is one of the most affordable places I've ever been in my life. I'm from the Florida Keys in South Miami. It costs like 1/3 to live out here as it does down there. People are like, what do you mean? You don't think that's expensive? I don't know if these guys really are not. I have the biggest room in the house, and my landlord charges me the cheapest amount out of all, and these guys are paying $1,200 a month. I pay fucking $1,000 a month. Okay? Nobody wanted this room, I guess, because I had too many mirrors or too many windows and got hot in the summertime, which I just lived outside for 6 years. I'm not concerned with air conditioning. I'll get my box fan, ceiling fan, and crack a couple windows, and I don't spend much time here anyway. I'm here after sunset, between evening and the next time I go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. I come here to eat, do my laundry, and sleep. I keep it clean and, relatively presentable, I think, with the, I guess you'd call it fleeting or delusion of hope that if a woman were to come over here, she'd notice and see that I don't live like a complete slob, but that's really the only reason I clean up after myself. Compelled to do it. That, and it's the convict thing, you have limited space and limited personal space in a facility like that or in an institution like that. It makes you very Spartan and appreciative of having the type of space that I have now. I'm very good at using things effectively. I live a very Spartan life, like I said. I'm so grateful for it. I remember I was talking to a lady about it, and she was talking to me about, well, what was it like when you went into the house the first time and you pulled the doorknob closed and the door clicked behind you? And it was weird because she really pinpointed like an exact moment of the actualization of my intention of my will to that point, because that was a goal that I had set for myself. So I had become aware of it, but not actually looked at it from this perspective. That moment was a moment where I had actualized another thing, another intention of my will, which was to have my own private space where I could close and lock my door if I chose to. I chose not to have a place like that for 6 years. So the act of doing that was very symbolic and emotional for me, actually. It brought emotions to me again when she had brought it up and I had made the connection again. And I shared it with her and she was just like, yeah, she goes, I can definitely see that being like a wow moment. I was like, yes, it's definitely a wow moment when you go. I was like, have you ever seen Castaway where he's turning the light switch off and on? I mean, not quite that severe, you know what I mean? But it was... situations like that that allow me to appreciate things that people don't appreciate anymore. You stick your life, go walk across the country 2 times for 6 years, stopping every state and city along the way. Do it the first time with lots of money and drugs and whores and 5-star hotels, because that's, well, you want to break yourself into it. And then if you think you noticed something, do it the second time like I did, on foot with no money, so you can really take a look at what you think you noticed. And, then you can tell me what it's like to travel that much. And then you can also have some idea of my level of commitment as to confirming certain aspects of some of the patterns and suppositions and opposition and observations I was making at that time. Say less. I try to tell my roommates and the people that are around me, I'm on several federal watch lists just for walking across the country and talking about things of this nature and doing it very publicly in public squares and centers and in the middle of town square in a gazebo. I'm setting up my backpack and sitting down and watching crowds line up, watching people open their doors and windows, watching cars park. I mean, I go and I draw crowds of people that would listen to me start to go down the course of what the point of the conversations was then. And unfortunately, what they got to go through was a lot of the self-discovery process and the discernment process that I was going through, that I had to go through the process of vocalizing and bouncing off other people that were involved in this equation, human beings. And in that process, they didn't get to see or didn't take the time to notice where I was refining my perceptions and where I was, because no one wanted to take the time to teach me what's really going on around here and what's really happening. We still don't. We still don't have to talk about that. That's not important. What's important is we live in a time now where we are given a great opportunity to make the decisions as to how we really stand or feel on the side of very simple, certain, natural things. And these simple, certain, natural things don't even really have so much to do with, certain aspects of it, depending on which part we're talking about. If we're talking about the aspect of the exploitation and the sexualization and the dehumanization of children and the naive, the usury of children and naive, then of course we're talking about something that we can say is intrinsically evil. I don't care. People will say, there's no right or wrong, and it's just what society says, and da-da-da. No, there's kids have an age where, 12, 13, if your kids are about to start screwing, you might as well be putting birth control in the cereal. My daughter got her period when she's 10. She's just turned 12. I'm not completely in the dark. I'm not looking forward to the day, but will not be completely shocked to find out that she is going to start experimenting, if not has not already, sexually with individuals who are most likely older than her. I'm uncomfortable with it. It's the way the world works. There are certain degrees of you accept this. If my daughter's 12 and she's got some 15, 16-year-old kid that wants to screw around with her, I can't almost be mad at that. Is it right? Is it going to make me feel any better if she was screwing around with a 13-year-old kid? No. And if the kid is 17, 18, 19 years old, where he's on the cusp of adolescence and he should be growing into an adult, and he has a preoccupation with my 12-year-old daughter, I'd be concerned. What is the nature of your preoccupation with my 12-year-old daughter? Is it that you believe that she's naive enough to succumb to you sexualizing her and taking advantage of her naivety? Because that, again, we get into he needs to be pointed out that he's doing something wrong. But we're not taught about the simple right and wrong of what it is that God's tripping about. Well, God's tripping about whether you go to church on Saturday or church on Sunday. And he is kind of pissed off about the Saturday thing. It's called the Sabbath. Sabbath being Latin for Saturday. It's supposed to be Saturday. Well, why'd they make me do it on Sunday? So that you'd have an entire planet fucking giving tribute to a God that they don't know the name of on the wrong fucking day. We live in something that's being perpetuated as a normalcy or a daily routine, and it's turned into the Truman Show. There's a select few among us who look around and can see the level of observation and awareness that this civilization that these people have, and are, if you're like me, trying to learn to shut up about it, especially the specifics of it, and trying to remind people that I am, for the record, a complete psychotic. I'm bipolar, manic depressive with a schizophrenic, paranoid disorder, and dissociative disorder, and I'm supposed to take like half a dozen psychotropic pills a day, and so there's more than enough disclaimer for everything that comes out of my mouth to be said. He's just a fucking nutbag. I think the problem is I don't come across like that. I come across as somebody who comes from a ground level, maybe not street as some of us, because I'm not as street as some of us, but from a ground level place, who's had the time to educate himself to some degree about a wide range of topics, And I've noticed certain connections, and I've noticed certain things that we are not paying attention to as a mass or a whole. And the mass or whole that is paying attention to it are all affiliated or on the same side. Which means that what I'm about to say is going to be probably the most controversial of this conversation at all. And I'm going to say that, and we're just going to use words so that we can put numbers on them, to say that there are 60 to 70% of the country practices some form of active devil worship, Satan worship, or blood ritual concerning children is a modest number. Okay? And they know it. And they all don't talk about it. And they're all part of different families, from different cults, from different sects, and this is what we don't talk about. This is what I don't talk about, because no one will talk about it to me, because I am the last person on the planet with the fucking golden thread of blood, Rh negative null. The last person on the planet with my fucking blood type. Okay? Now, if you had the last person on the planet with your blood type, people had certain associations with it that were both alien and spiritual. And what you know about social media, the web, the dark web, and each other, can you imagine how terrified I should be right now? I should be terrified out of my mind. I am terrified out of my mind and still refuse to accept the entirety of the potential of what's being suggested or shown to me, because the actualization of that would be, I believe, too much for any sane man to truly grasp his mind about. And we're still talking about something that's beyond human understanding, even just to begin to wrap your mind around the concept of, it could have been anyone. It just popped up. Anyone could have, well, it could have been any human being that was left. It could have been anyone. It could have been any Rh negative. Could have gone through the process and come self-aware again. I believe. I like to tell myself that. I don't like to think that I. Otherwise, what we're suggesting is that I'm supposed to be here at this time, right now, again, and this is the second coming, and I am the Lamb, Son, the Lamb of God, and this is the beginning of Revelation, and I am at a certain point expected to make incredible connections with people and do incredible things that will involve a outcome in spiritual warfare that is largely based on the subject matter that I've had at hand. And that would mean I'd have to accept, A, that I had an ego large enough to even wrap my brain around that you're trying to tell me that I am the son of the man, that I am son of man, that we are all God's children, that I am the son of man, and man is the son of God. So I have realized that through my observation and my willpower, I have actualized my ability to become the God that we were all intended to become. Human beings. But again, you guys are not real human beings. You're been genetically altered with subhuman primates. Which is why you have Rh positive blood. It's rhesus compatible hemoglobin. That's your Rh positive blood. That consists of your A, B, O positive, all the blood caste systems that you may or may not be familiar with. When I mention Rh negative null, everyone says, I've never heard of that. No, you haven't. You haven't. What little you can find out about it, if you were to believe some of the implications that are associated with the blood type, coincide with some of my very, very terrifying observations and suppositions, and also prove that there is a fair amount of disinformation that you have to go along with it to associate or to discern what is really going on here? You know, and that's the other thing is as much as I seem to know, I've left huge portions out of specifics. I've left huge portions out of details that I could very simply sum it up and say the more I were to say, the less you would probably respect me, the less you would think about me. And that would be just from the sheer amount and bizarre nature of information associated with some of the things we were talking about that I've acquired over the past 6 or 7 years of dealing with a very large group of people who do not like me. I get people come up to me routinely and literally embrace me crying and tell me, I love you, but you have to understand that I hate you. I love you as much as I hate you. Strangers tell me this. I have friends travel from across country to fucking come to break down, hug me, cry, and tell me that they need to understand, I need to understand that it's for as much as that they love me, they hate me, and they have to do what they have to do. And their affirmations about the behaviors that I've observed these people participating in around me. A lot of it has to do with trying to harm me intentionally, very subtly. A lot of it has to do with a chemical subjugation, which again sounds completely psychotic and paranoid. And if I hadn't discovered the multitudes of delivery methods and seen the progression in that technology alone in the last 6 to 7 years, I shouldn't even be able to find out as much information about delivery methods for gel caps that you can fill with any liquid that you want. They have Mace gel caps, right? They can sell them in cell phones with CO2s in them, but wherever you point the camera, push the button, the gel cap shoots out, and you get splattered with it. And they're supposed to be for Mace for self-protection. There's private companies that will put any chemical you want inside this gel cap, without question. The people that are involved in this process have so much money and so much control, they could have whatever company they have under whatever parent company or umbrella company. They have more than one place where they can be like, we need Section 5 of Lab 13 for the next 24 days. We're making these fucking pellets for chemicals 74A and 75A to be tested out in the Southern California area of subject B527. Yeah, he's out there again. Yeah, I don't know. You said you needed to take a second look. And then I can go to some no-name dirt town where they've literally replaced the entire water system with toxic water, poisoned all the food with the same chemical that I'm being exposed to in mass quantities, and hired people to live and pretend to work in the town for the brief period that I'm going to be there. Because I would not spend more than 1 or 2 hours in a town. I'm cutting through. I just needed to look real quick and confirm and get a couple registration, okay, yep. And I mean, it wasn't rocket science to figure out, within the first few minutes, if I had walked into a town that was waiting for me, to be ambushed upon, and the million different ways that you can deliver this chemical that I was subjugated to, which has changed multiple times because according to certain written parts of scriptures, true believers or prophets of the Christ in the second coming will be immune to poisons and toxins set upon them, as well as the Christ himself. Cheers. But what they can do is they can provide such a high saline content or a amphetamine salt or stimulant based content to the water that the more water I drink, the more dehydrated I become and the sicker I become. So I have to go through certain towns where there's long periods of time where I have to test the water periodically, but depending on how much of I drink and its immediate effect on me, I can tell instantly whether, if I were to drink this entire cup of water, whether I would be twice as thirsty or dehydrated and nauseous and sick when I was done, or whether I would actually be hydrated from it. There were some parts of the country, in some towns, and you understand they stood up towns like mousetraps. Every one had a different theme. It was like a sport. And I had the very bad habit at the time of not just speaking aloud like I am now, but I would speak aloud and speak my intentions aloud, because it was part of what I was doing in this manifestation process. I didn't realize I didn't have to do that necessarily. But what I was doing when I was doing this is I was literally announcing to everybody exactly where I was going when I was doing. Well, you know what we'll do? We'll go over to Missouri and we'll go over to the hotel over there and we're gonna and I go do exactly what it said I did. Well, it's after the third or fourth time someone tested this theory, they realized that this fucking moron is literally going to tell us right before what he's going to do. It took me almost a year and a half to break the habit. I'm a slow learner. You know, I really didn't think anyone was listening until I really started to notice that people are listening. Right now, it's still nobody's listening. I'm recording for future posterity. What time is it? 1:30. All right, I'm probably gonna wrap this up because I think that was enough tip of the iceberg type shit just to get people curious again and clarify as to what my true intention is. I'm lonely, guys, and whatever I teach myself in private on my own, and you can't share the type of things that I know with other people. They have to come to their own conclusions. For me to tell them the type of things that I know would be beyond their ability to comprehend and accept. So I've learned, to some degree, very much so, to keep my counsel to myself. That was another part of this brief explanation. I'm hoping that it gets around enough that people can see what I'm doing and where I'm at right now. So. My roommate still thinks I'm talking to myself. But it's okay. I don't know. I've talked to him several times. My level of, and here's something I deal with daily too, is my level of paranoia and my Murphy's Law prerogative that I'm trying to break myself of running my daily affairs through. Murphy's Law being a statement that says the worst possible things, the worst possible time are being done by the worst possible people in the worst possible ways. It's a very pessimistic way to look at everything in its entirety from a maximum chaos, a maximum, pessimistic perspective. Just imagine what if everything, all the really worst shit really did happen. And then you start running little daily affairs or even little patterns of weird shit you start to notice through this Murphy's Law type perspective that, there's no way that, and I'm not going to get into it because I would be, again, being more specific about my non-agenda, which I don't have anymore. You go run your Murphy's Law perspective through your daily observation perceptions, and now you see that these really terrible things are happening all the time, and that there's patterns, and there have been patterns that you've been ignoring for decades that show that certain aspects of just newfound Murphy's Law prerogative that you've just started applying are panning out in your life. And as you take steps forward and you apply it to more and more situations, socially, in relationships, in work environments, anywhere it has to deal with behavioralism and people's motivations and reactions, and you consider the worst decision that they could make at these critical moments, use it as an Occam's razor type of scenario just a few times and send me some feedback, because I've been greatly disappointed to find out that I'm like 99% of the time right about the shit that I think about, and I have some very, very bizarre suppositions about the people in my life, why they're there, and the placement and timing of things, and real bizarre. But I can't go around talking about them, because then I wouldn't be able to have like even this, just me talking to a camera, is beyond, like, these people like this cracker is tripping the fuck out or whatever. I wouldn't be able to interact with people socially if I were to play upon my Murphy's Law or everything is absolutely fucked scenario or perspective all the time. I couldn't interact with anybody daily. I'd be doing myself self-harm. I'd be contributing towards the harm of others. I'd be blindly turning an eye towards destructive, deceptive, and, misdirecting behavior. I'd be participating actively in the workings, in the work that's going on around me. And one thing that I've been adamant from the very beginning, when I first started to feel that that I was being implemented into certain parts of things that I didn't want to be part of, certain group ritualistic activities that I didn't want to be part of, I stated very clearly that I am not participating in your act. I am learning to survive in the environment that I live in, and doing it to my damn best ability, because my survival instinct is, there's no giving up here. So if I'm going to live in a world of poison, then I'm going to simply live in that world. But I have a little secret: I can't get poisoned, which has been thoroughly immutably proven by now. I don't know if you've had any of the footage of some of the purging process that my body has gone through, considering the amount of abuse that I put it through. But after these purging processes, I have complete restoration and functionality of certain aspects of my respiration and circulatory system that I shouldn't be. I was diagnosed with emphysema in like 2008. I shouldn't be able to smoke a pack and a half of cigarettes a day and breathe in toxic air and dirt and gas, and I shouldn't have. My heart only beats 56 a minute. 56 beats a minute. My heart beats less than 1 beat a minute. Until I explained to them that my heart beats so slow, they were very concerned about my blood pressure. I barely have. I have extremely low blood pressure. I have no cholesterol. If it wasn't for the bald spot, I'd be doing great. The hardest part has been trying to own not the entirety, but trying to own your experience and own and differentiate the validity of what you were clearly overreacting to, in retrospect, and things that you clearly experienced both under the influence and not under the influence of certain drugs. Things that clearly happened to you, that if you're going to take the entirety of your experience and weigh its validity or feel how valid it was. And that this experience being a path of growth over a period of time, or whatever these experiences been, everybody wants their experience validated. The only way I know how to do that is to try to share it with as many people as possible, and then to get feedback on different aspects of my experience. The problem with it is I tend to put people off so much with my certainty of, or apparent certainty of certain aspects of current systems in the world, things in the world, and I think that accuracy makes people very uncomfortable, and I haven't learned. I have learned I am compelled to share what I'm going through still in this growth process, and how imperative it is that people be on board with this. It's about the not just the reproduction of your race, it's about the you want to educate and propagate and you want every generation to have had the opportunity to learn from our negative experiences over time, instead of perpetuating these negative experiences and allowing our offspring to go through them themselves as a point of personal growth, is really, to some degree, a detractive measure of what we're going through growing. If parents and kids had a way where they could truly learn from each other, truly, a lot of this has to do too with the way we're talking. See, my dad used to sit down and have these amazing conversations with me, which in turn got me to be a chatty Cathy. But when I had my youngest daughter and was able to spend time with one of my children, it gave me the opportunity to talk to her, and in doing so, I never dumbed up our conversation. I would, for context, obviously change it and edit it because there were certain things that are inappropriate. But when it came to the way that I expressed myself to her, it was much in the same way that I do now, which I admit that I at times may or may not use certain words that are specific to whatever esoteric or science or particular subject I'm talking to. But generally speaking, I think that I have an ability to cross multiple generations and multiple cultures with a very direct line of thought and articulation. And I think that's the key part is depth of emotion, range of emotion, and one's ability to empathize with another and articulate these emotions. I think. I don't know. See, and this is why I do this stupid shit on the phone, because who the fuck am I supposed to talk this to? Huh? I try to talk to my homeboy Jesse, the black cat I work with, about some of this shit, and he's just like, I don't know, man. I just seen this girl yesterday, though. Waist like this, got an ass like that. You know, she's kind of pretty in the face. That's all I want to talk about. I envy his one-track mind. I wish. I mean, I guess maybe talking to him has got me doing this again, because again, this is really all about not my fucking paranoia or conspiracy theory. It's about me trying to find other people that think that my quirky weirdness is interesting enough to get to learn more about me and decide whether or not I'm salvageable at this point. I think my work ethic and my general ability to entertain has got to give me some kind of brownie points to begin with. Because I can be funny, too. You know, according to my ex-girlfriends, I was funnier when I drank. They would tell me to pour more funny down my throat. I just found that along with that excessive drinking came a lot of excessive violence and arrests and trouble, and I much more prefer to not be in that kind of trouble anymore. I'm getting old. I'm 47. Yeah, I know, God. I'm doing all right. I'm like 165 pounds, like 5'8". I'm 5'7.5". But when you're 5'7.5" and someone asks, you're 5'8", okay? Yeah, it's a little man subject. I get it. But what, am I really supposed to run around and go, I'm 5'7.5"? No, I'm supposed to say I'm 5'7" because that sounds better, right? No, I'm 5'8". So when anyone asks me, I'm 5'8". Why not? I am 5'8" with the boots on. Probably like 5'8", not 5'9". Again, another thing I'm not overly concerned with. I noticed that in prison, I'm not the shortest guy in line. I guess it makes me medium size. This is apparently a object of complaint or criticism among admirers and or critics, is the fact that I am trying to explain to him I'm medium sized. I'm a 165, 5'8" size guy with a medium sized dick. I'm not, I don't know what to tell you. I would not go run around showing this thing up on camera all the time like I did when I was younger if I didn't realize, you know, I don't know what the fuck I was doing in my 40s when I did the whole chatterbait thing. I really don't know. I know I had to talk to people 8 or 9 hours a day about everything from esoterics to lawnmower maintenance. A lot of that was being lonely too. But most of that was about spiritual growth and learning the hard way that you're not supposed to share these subjects with everybody. But I fucked up so bad anyway by this point. All I can do is try to save the few people that are fucked up like I am and repair the damage I've done everywhere else. Will never happen. But boy, have we learned some stuff along the way. You know? I'd turn it up more, but I don't want to piss off my roommate. Oh, I got a huge pimple, which I guess I'm supposed to be feeling good about, right? Because only teenagers get pimples, not 50-year-old men, so I'm fucking still got something good going on. Does that just mean I'm dirty and greasy? Not really. I showered today. Did I shower today? No, I didn't shower today. I gotta get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go climb inside some dirty asshole in some dirty ass apartment to begin with. Change my drawers, I change my work clothes, change my boots and my socks, and I go get dirty some more. Like, your bed doesn't get dirty? I don't even sleep underneath the sheets. I don't think I've slept like in my bed normally. This is the first bed I've had in 6 years. I don't know. I'm not even really used to it. It's kind of like alien. Sleep in one little corner of it. It was institutionalized like a motherfucker. I'm really trying to get back into this whole normal living game. Then I go share this shit with people like you and expect that I'm going to get a girlfriend out of it. Which is like, all I do is terrify women. They're like, that guy, he's real entertaining, but boy, do I want absolutely nothing to do with that. I get it. Yeah, I get it. I still believe this, though. If I was like 10, 15 years younger and like millions of dollars richer, I could easily believe this bizarre and have no problem getting a girlfriend. But then what kind of relationship would that be, right? Another great thing about being a convict, I can go years without it. No problem. Never had to worry about it, switch out, fucking put Kool-Aid on for lipstick and fucking fishnet. Never had to worry about none of that shit. Just solo dolo. oddly enough, get hit on way less in prison than you do in the fucking free world out here where everybody's gay out here. You get more straight people in prison now. We're all locked up. You come out here and the entire fucking planet is to be accepted for whatever it is they want to be, because we live in a free society where people have the ability to accept and choose what it is, what they identify with, and how they want to live their lives. And no one should have anything to say about that or anything to do with it. And I do. I have a lot to say about it and a lot to do with it. That's the problem. I'm so proud of myself for not saying like too much bad stuff. They're really good. I'll know whether or not this was a good or bad idea, not based on the feedback I get, whether they even allow it to be posted or any of the other things, based solely on the types of thumbnails I get and the social feed that I get. I will be warned or permitted to interact with the public on this level. I'm trying to just keep it entertaining and curious enough as to where they don't care that I'm just looking for some kind of connection or a partner, that my desperation is quite possibly entertainment enough for them to allow it to continue, which I don't know. Probably not. They probably won't allow it to continue. If it helps, I mean, pretty desperate. I'm literally using these mediums again. Just this one, though. I'm not. I mean, if I get a few followers come back and they say, hey, why don't you start a Chatterbait page or an OnlyFans page? Some girls try to get me to start OnlyFans every now and then, but I don't even have a state ID right now. I don't know if that would be the best idea. I'm a 47-year-old average dude with some very interesting concepts and ideas. I'm not trying to market myself sexually. That doesn't say that I think I'm like the worst looking person in the world, and I have any kind of incompetence or inconfidence when it comes to how I perform sexually. I don't. Like I said, don't get a lot of complaints. I just don't think that's not what I'm here for. I'm not trying to give people the impression that, yeah, we just talked about all this like really strange spiritual shit, and here, let me strip down my fucking boxer briefs and pull out Where's Waldo and fucking go to town on him again. That used to be part of the show. That was a big part of it when I did the X-rated stuff. I had a lot of fun with it. I would use the platform I was on multiple mobile devices, so I could be critiquing other broadcasters on the platform during my broadcast, which caused competition and a lot of conversation and a lot of attention. I knew what I was doing. It's all part of dark psychology. It was all part of a psychological operation to infiltrate a structure that I had suspicions about, that we're not going to talk about. I'm not going to say that I didn't make a lot of mistakes along the way, and that I did not even make a fool out of myself in so many ways. But I will say that the things that I intuitively was compelled to do and did do got me exactly where I am, which you still can see I have nobody looking at this. But I'm recording it for posterity. And where I am is on a lot of people's radar, talking about some really important stuff. And that was the goal. The idea was really like, if someone can affect 1% of the world's population, then they can affect the entire outcome of a history or a timeline. 1%. That doesn't even have to be me. That just means I have to influence one person who is powerful enough that can influence enough people or enough other people influential enough to influence 1% of the population. It's not something I have to accomplish personally. All I really personally have to do is convince the right person that the severity and the importance and prosperity and propagation of your species, the species that now inhabits this planet, is priority in an opportune time of decision and polarization that will have extreme consequences on future events that you don't even have to attach to spiritual inclinations. We can just simply call them astronomical and or alien, which is simply defined as things beyond the human conception or comprehension. It's not a hard word to accept in the rapidly growing universe that we live in, is that there is going to be some very alien things going on. You can call them religious, we can call this spiritual warfare, we can call this revelation. We can just say there's some very alien things that are going to be going on, and people need to be ready to make some very serious decisions and have some very serious conversations with their kids. And however you beat around the bush and have this conversation or make these points about the value of your soul, the importance of not bartering it and trading it, and the importance of appreciating and respecting the beautiful creature that God made you to be, and learning how to do that in this life, and learning that there's someone out there for every single one of us who appreciate that individuality about you. That is what life was supposed to be about. Wasn't supposed to be about being whatever you wanted. The world's never worked like that. We are men in this world and slaves to the physical world around us. God knows we've been trying to bend it in our hands and bend it to our will since the beginning of time. But in the end, we're slaves to this world around us. Or we could have been custodians of it. Before it was the prison planet that it is now. And back when it was the garden planet that it used to be. So they used to call this place the garden planet. You know what they call it after the fall. This is the prison planet. And that's what this is right now. Everybody that's died hasn't gone to heaven or hell. If you really read the book, everybody that's died is in between right now. Upon the return, upon the judgment, that's when certain individuals will be sent to hell, which some sects, such as the Jehovah's Witness, believes is a simple state of non-existence. They don't believe that hell is an actual place of eternal punishment and a place that is actually a manifestation of the potentiality of the hell that your own mind could create, which is what hell really is. This is where, and believe me, these Jehovah's Witnesses, with their timelines and all the literature that they have that goes along with their translation of the Bible, which very simply replaces God's name where it was removed from Hebrew. God's name in the Hebrew Bible is Jehovah. It's mentioned 1,700 times in the Bible. I think at some point it might have been relevant that we made sure that was the God we were praying to. And he knew that Jehovah, his name was significant. It was removed from the Bible for whatever reason, because it gave him power and would lead too many free minds on too many free, God forbid, learning discoveries, and we may have a whole different future than we have now. The point being is, that, and they don't believe that hell exists. They believe that hell is a state of non-existence. So for everybody that's done these mortal sins, these terrible things that could never live with, the only consequence for this action would be you do not reincarnate, which is part of Gnostic fucking Christianity and Judaism, which isn't taught in Western civilized Christianity because, again, you're being misled. That's why you're here in America. Is you're all being lied to for a reason. This is all part of a big, huge working. We're not going to talk about that anymore. All looking for a certain person at a certain time to prevent a certain thing from happening that may very well be happening. Some of you picking up what I'm putting down. Some of you guys have known me for a real long fucking time. Don't think I've lost my mind. I lost my mind a long time ago before all this. I've been sober for a long time. I've been part of a sober living facility. I go to AA 2 or 3 times a week. I don't do anything except drink a little bit of Kratom and smoke legal fucking store weed. And that's my fucking life. I just have been compelled to reach out to people so I can make a connection so I don't have to do this alone, because I've been instructed that I don't have to spend the rest of my life alone. That I do have to spend a lot more time here, and I am going to be asked to try and guide people and teach people in certain aspects of growth if they're interested, only if they're interested, and pursue it and come to me. I can't, it's a program of attraction, not a promotion. I need you, if you're interested, to learn about any of these things. First of all, teach yourselves, and then secondly, anyone can ask me any question anytime they want. I can't lie, it's not part of my spiritual belief system anymore. It makes things very difficult. I also don't put myself in a lot of positions to lie anymore. So it's just, nor do I put my friends in positions to lie very often, because I got tired of being lied to. Point being, if anyone were to have a question that was related to any of the subject matter that I briefly covered, or would like to have a private conversation and we're willing to exchange information at different levels, I'd be very grateful for that exchange, and can swear that it would be kept in secrecy, because I don't know if I've ever said this, but I don't make a lot of promises. And if I make one, it's to be kept. So, in the name of information exchange, growth, truth, which is something that is very, very far and few between with you guys, real truth, because believe me, the truth is subjective. The truth is completely subjective. The truth is fluid. The truth changes over time, depending on how many people believe in what subject or who observed what at what time. The truth is a very fluid, subjective thing. But there are very few things that are true, and those are truly things that are important, like what is truly evil. Truly good could be a subjective matter. We could have a conversation about social constructs and dynamics and what people consider to be good and bad all day. But we know certain things that we weren't supposed to do. I'm sorry, dude. Do you know how many of my friends have come out to me and they told me that they were gay at one point in time, and that they loved me at different degrees at one point in time? The larger percentage of them. It took me probably by the second or third time before I, instead of asked, what the fuck did you just say to me? I just wanted you to know that I felt this way for a long time, and I love you, and you have beautiful eyes. And my normal reaction would be, what the fuck did you just say to me? You're supposed to be my childhood friend, right? Somebody I've grown up with. Yet another person I know. I had to learn how to say thank you. That's an example of tolerance. Am I truly grateful that this poor confused man is so drawn to and or obsessed with my eyes that he feels not only compelled to tell me how beautiful they are, but they become a point of attraction or a point of him to express his sexual intentions towards me, because that's what you're doing. You have beautiful eyes. You're not just telling me that because I have beautiful eyes. You're telling me that because you're coming on to me. I don't care, male one, who you are. My point being is, tolerance for me has been learning how to say thank you when I can. Walking away 90% of the time like I didn't hear something when I can, and then not looking at that person and instantly judging them, be like, what the fuck did you say? My instant reaction, the way I was raised, would be very hostile and potentially violent. Even though I've never thrown a first punch in my life, and never had to in a situation like that, but had more than once had to look at my friend and just ask him, what gave you any possible clue or inclination that I would be interested in this proposition? I mean, first of all, I'm from South Florida. I met a lot of gay dudes. I've never met a gay dude that talks like I do, period. It's based solely on that alone. It just sounds like I do. Just swears like I do, talks like I do, talks about the shit that I do. Never, ever. And I've seen a whole bunch of dudes with fucking dad issues that fucking play the role. I lived out in the Midwest, in Colorado for fucking 3 years. Everybody out there is fucking gay. Everybody dresses the same. You can't tell whether they're straight or not. We're all just animals. They have no preference out there. I have a preference. They're like, yeah, I'm like women, like women. I'm like, yeah, I have a preference on those too. Brunettes. They're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I like brunettes. Women with, all girl original parts, and they did post-op, pre-op thing. And Trinidad, right outside of fucking Thornton, Ohio. The transvestite, transsexual, trans-op fucking sex change capital of the world. There is more clinics and surgeons to perform full sex augmentation surgery in Trinidad, Colorado, which is right outside of Thornton where I live, than anywhere else in the country. Anywhere else in the world. It's the surgical capital of the world. It used to be Switzerland, and now it's Trinidad. I had no idea about this at all. I think I got tricked one night. I really did. I had fucked this one blonde girl one night. She was absolutely gorgeous. If it was a dude, it was a completely perfect, a feminine representation of a small blonde girl with a page haircut. Should have known with the page haircut and the fucking perfect tattoos. Should have been a dead giveaway. But whatever. Fucked her, and the first time I fucked her, she's like, oh, and you can fuck too. And I was like, that's just a real weird thing for an escort to say. I was like, no. And then we were bullshitting, and she wanted to come over on a Friday night. She's like, no, I just want to come over. And I was like, all right. She came over, and she was kind of fucked up, and I was like, are you all right? You on anything? She goes, well, I took some of the Razepam. So she had eaten a bunch of Xanax before she came over, so she was obviously nervous about something. I was like, yeah, what's up? She goes, well, if I told you a secret, do you think if I told you something, you'd be mad at me? And I knew instantly what the fuck you're talking about. I think I was in denial at that point. Instantly, my brain was like, I didn't want to go there because that wasn't the experience that I had. The experience I had was with a petite blonde woman with beautiful breasts. The other thing that got me was she had breast augmentation, but the breast augmentation was of a appropriate size for her frame and body. Well, most girls to get breast augmentation go big or go home, right? These are all outside observations after the fact. After I sleep with her and I kick her out because I don't want her to know. Can I tell you a secret? And I was like, I really don't want to know. I was like, did you lie to me about something? Well, kind of. I was like, then I really don't want to know what it is. She goes, well, what, you're not going to talk to me anymore? I was like, well, you just told me you lied to me. And she goes, well, you think I can get $150? And now you're just charging me for something that you told me was free earlier. She charged me randomly. Yeah, okay. And she hadn't been. Okay, here's your $150. Because she knew she wasn't going to tell me the secret now. I was kicking her out. Can I tell you a secret? No. Will you walk me out? I was like, I'll probably never call you again because you lied to me. And then after she asked me for the $150, I said, I'm definitely never calling you again. You definitely fucking lied to me. You told me you were coming over here to bullshit and hang out. I told you I was tight on money. She said, that's all good, whatever. We've had this conversation before and fucking kicked it all weekend. She's come by this time, put the pussy on me, and then asked me for money. Straight up, you already know I gotta conduct business. Business. You come in here and put the pussy on me, I gotta pay for it. Fuck, I gotta pay for it. You trying to trick me into having to pay for the shit. You know, you told me you coming over here, you wanted to fuck. Okay. But as soon as she asked me if she could tell me the secret, and I told her, hell no, I don't want to know the secret. I thought she had been solicited by the people in Chatterbait that I was working for. They were trying to have a contest to get the right type of sex to sleep with me, because I didn't have any filters on my camera, like my stream. So anybody could watch my stream. It didn't matter if you were gay, trans, straight, but if I had known, I probably would have edited it, but I would have fucked myself too, because then I wouldn't have made the impression on all the different weird fucking people I made. And that was the idea. As much bad feedback as I got, I had to do that and take that risk to reach and wake up the select. If, you know, like I said, if 1% of all the people I fucking talk to on the fucking planet got curious enough to look for themselves as to what the nature of their spirituality is, just as a vague related subject or concept compared to some of the things we talked about. If I even got them to think that much in that direction, and it leads in the growth that they needed in this cycle of life, then that was part of the entire job. That was just part of the process. The end goal, though, is really all I have to do is affect 1% of the world's population to start thinking consciously, and this new conscious awakening will polarize enough of us so that certain prophetic stories, or if you want, certain prophecies can be fulfilled or played out. But in order for that to happen, people need to start thinking about the consequences of their actions and really making these choices and teaching these choices to the ones that we love, and just having an open discussion about it. Because as it stands, a lot of it is of a sexual nature and the taboo discussion. You know, it's really, and it's hard to talk to your kids about these things, you know, especially with gender identity and how you identify as different kinds of people, I guess is what we're supposed to say. See, it's very hard for me too, because like I'll meet some guy who's a sexual child molester who's living in some homeless shelter, who dresses up like a hedgehog every day, who assigns himself as a hedgehog, but his gender is female, but he gets a state check every month and they pay all his bills, but he's a child molester who lives like a hedgehog, who thinks that he's a woman, and the state pays all his bills. And I'm supposed to just accept this at the drop of a hat, because we're supposed to live in a very free, open-minded society where this behavior is a sign of growth and positivity. When I tell people that I'm kind of rigidly heterosexual, and I think that there are serious consequences of certain unnatural acts involving, you know, each other and children, I am looked at like a complete fucking psychopath or some kind of religious zealot. I've never been any part of any organized religion in my life. I didn't even start reading the Bible until I was reading at a college level. I've been studying Eastern philosophy for a decade before that. I was looking for a reason that Christianity didn't work. And the more I learned and studied about the Bible, the more I understood why parts of it don't work, because parts of it are left out, because God bless him, whoever rewrote the King James edition of version, and some people actually supposition that it was Shakespeare, but I don't believe it was actually really the right time frame. I'm not exactly sure who wrote the Bible, but God bless whoever did enough wordplay in there as to where it makes you curious enough to look for the source or nature of some of these more controversial prophetic visions or rigid moral codes or different descriptions of lineages, whatever. It makes you look at these things at a deeper level. And I'm just saying, I was 25 years old and stuck in a room in a cage with a Bible again, because it's the only book that they had me locked in a cage with again, and was still positive there was no God, because if there was, my life wouldn't suck so bad. And then something said to me, Stephen, you know, you have this really, really strong opinion on something that you have absolutely no education or information about. And I said that was a very fair deduction. I think it was some of the very beginnings of me listening to some of my intuitions, especially in retrospect that they're all spiritually based at some nature or another. It's some of my earliest recollection of listening to my intuitions and then pursuing something that greatly affected the gratitude, purpose, significance of my life, and hopefully the life of other people around me. So I don't think anyone's going to watch all this long. It is 2 o'clock in the morning. I got to go and work. Ryan Celsius, Trap Sounds on YouTube. I got a YouTube channel out there somewhere. I need 50 subscribers. I'm going to try and pump this video everywhere I can. Show it to all your friends. We'll see if anybody still wants to listen to the old man talk.